From the 1930s until 1980, some of the most prolific and talented toy designers in the world worked for Marx and Company at their various United States plants. We were fortunate enough at the Toy Museum to be able to interview many of them over the years, and today we're going to introduce you to one of them. L.D. Curtis was a creative individual, a unique individual, somebody who was able to sit down and reason his way through problems that many other people couldn't solve. He didn't necessarily have the degrees to back this up the way you need to today, but in that period of time, the creativity and the uniqueness of an individual would shine through and be taken advantage of. Marx and Company was no exception. They employed some of the most talented toy designers the world has ever seen. Well, L.D. Curtis started out working through many different jobs at many different companies, contributing in substantial ways at every one of them. But his work at Marx happened after World War II in the model room. We interviewed Mr. Curtis in 1993, and we're going to share portions of that interview with you today.
When you showed up, now the second time you went to work for him was, you say, after the war, right?
Yeah, that was in the model room.
In the model room. Okay. What was the first thing that you did in the model room? Do you remember?
Oh my goodness, I did so many things. What we would do is make the original model of a toy that we would make. And,
well, can you think of one that you thoroughly got excited about doing, and then give us an example of one that you found was just an absolute bore, a pain in the ass, and was glad it was over with? None of them was bad, huh? No? You didn't have no fizzles? None that you just said, oh God, I'm glad this thing's out of my face, no?
I've got one in there, I'll show you. I wish I'd have kept not models, but the production models.
Yeah.
After they started making them. But I was just too wrapped up and I never even thought of it. And I didn't have a one afterwards. But now I found one or two at a sale and places like that.
Well, you say there was one that you really enjoyed. What one was that?
Well, the one that I enjoyed getting one of, and I've got in the house, I'll show you. It's a tractor trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about that long, and they were making it, and you had to pick the tractor up on the trailer to uncouple it, and then it had a dolly wheel that you could pull
down. Right.
So I told the boss, I said, I can take that and fix it so you shove that dolly wheel down, and that'll pull the pin up and let the tractor pull away.
Okay.
And he said, I like that. You go ahead and start making the templates, and I'll get in touch with Louis and see what he says.
You know what he's talking about? There was that pin coming up. Right.
So he came back in a little while, and he said, well, he doesn't want that. He wants it so that you can trigger it, and when you pull the tractor out, the pin will lift up, and the dolly wheels will come down the log. He said, you think you can do that? I said, yeah, that won't be too hard. So I made the templates, and then they could take the templates and make the dies and things to make the production.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one of them in there.
Okay, we'll take a peek at that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, use the same.
And I've got, there's one, they were just getting into plastics, and I made a whole barn in pieces. But if you take the vent off the top like that, you take the whole barn apart.
Okay, it'd be about this big, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the H-O.
That's
the H-O.
Well, it was put out to go to the train.
The vents on the top. So you were the one who came up with the idea to hold the roof together with the vents.
I made the whole thing.
That's what I mean. But
I designed
was.
it and made the first barn.
I thought that was unique when I saw it because it holds the roof together and
holds the barn together.
Holds the barn together.
Yeah, I've got one of them.
And you don't have to glue it.
No,
the whole thing was plastic. Then it had a little silo went with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That slid into a pocket.
So I
That's right.
finally got to meet the guy who made the barn. Okay.
And oh, let's see. I got a bridge in there that went with the toy trains.
Yeah.
Not that long. I made the first one of them.
The creativity and inventiveness and the sharp mind of L.D. Curtis went far beyond his days at Marx Toys. In the 1930s, while working at Blah & Ox, he developed the patterns which were used to produce all of the drive wheels for the famous New York Central Railroad's Hudson locomotives. During World War II, at a brief stint in a company in the Valley which was making bunk beds for troop ships, he tweaked the workflow and was literally able to double production from 600 to nearly 1,200 units per day in just a matter of a few days. And his creativity went beyond work for other companies. Mr. Curtis held several patents, both independently and with others, and he shared several of those stories with us back in 1993.
Back then, television was just getting started,
Yeah.
and they had to have an antenna way up with 2 wires.
Right. With little insulators made in between them. You are serious. This was yours?
That's mine. Look on that.
So, this was the plastic version of the insulators for the TV, which was 2 sets of brass wire running out into God's green acre.
And he put his name in it. Curtis patented.
I'll be darned.
I got into something quite a few years ago that never went anyplace. Photography interested. You've seen these 3D pictures, haven't you? I've got a camera over there that I made that would have taken pictures like that instantly, like Polaroid.
Okay.
I couldn't get Polaroid would not even talk to me about it unless I would take it all the way over there and so. Yeah, but I did get an interview with a guy at Eastman.
Well, see, Eastman was happy because they screwed up. Polaroid used to work for them, and he went in with an idea. Dr. Lands went in with an idea, and they says, "Oh, this won't work," and he started Polaroid.
But anyhow, I called them and they had me go up, and this is when they were still making instant pictures like Polaroid.
Yeah.
And so I talked to him, and then after he saw what I had, he said, "Well," he said, we're in trouble with Polaroid now, and I'm afraid that we'd better not get into it."
Well, it looks to me like your talents are multi-level: photography, clocks, machinery.
Well, I get work from as far away as Texas on music boxes. Music box works, all antiques.
Uh-huh. Well, what do? You mean if there's parts broken, you'll make the part for it, or?
Make the parts. Nearly always I have to make them because
That's why they're broke.
old timers, they don't have spare parts.
Uh-huh.
When we interviewed L.D. Curtis, he was in his 90s. However, that fertile mind was still as active as ever. He had a burgeoning business out of his home, repairing clocks and music boxes that were being sent to him from all over the country. And he was working with a local plastics company, a very interesting story that he shared with us.
What is a place in California wanted to bottle up cider like champagne.
Okay.
They wanted to put a crown finish on, and then they wanted a plastic cap that they could put over that so they could wrap it with foil without tearing it up, and then
For short, wine coolers, or whatever they call it, getting into that, yeah.
when they take the plastic cap off, they wanted to be able to tear the skirt off of it.
Yeah.
And then when they took the crown finish off, that plastic cap would make a replacement. It would snap off.
Okay, snap back on.
Well, they tried to make them, and they kept the skirt kept tearing off in the mold. And So he came to me, and I made a mold to make 2 at a time, and it worked fine. I made him, I think, 20 or 25,000 pieces, and he got the job, and he had a little press in his basement, and he took the mold and made them there, and then he kept bringing me other jobs, and they kept getting bigger and bigger, and we finally had that company down there. I worked for a dentist in Wheeling. You probably know him, Dr. Rybeck.
Yes, I just know of
I
him.
worked in his lab, and one day I went in the lab, and I had to go into the chair, and he was working on a patient, he's taking a bridge out, and he had ligature wire looped around it, and he had you know what a dent puller is? One of those, a slide.
Okay.
He had a little thing you'd hook in there, and
Yeah.
jerk on it. And I got hold of him out in the hall afterwards. I said, "Is that the only way you've got to do that?" He said, "That's the only way." He said, "If you can come up with something better, we can sell it." So I went to work, and we ended up making these.
Oh, isn't that beautiful? Look at the machine work.
You can
Calipers.
clamp that right on a crown,
Yeah.
and hook his dent puller in there and jerk it off, and then this is one of the original first ones. I didn't like them. I changed the design of it, but anyhow, he was real happy with it. So I set up a business making those. I had a corporation for a while, and I think I made around 25,000 of them.
Art used to have a man who worked in his office who was a man from Marx Toy Company. And they would sit down and they would think about things that they didn't have. And in their discussions, this man would develop them, and they actually patented things that are now marketed all over the world.
We moved our factory into the milk room here, and started manufacturing our adapters here. These chickens tend to like to come in here. Some of them even lay eggs on the straw from time to time. This was an invention that Kurt and I worked on, and we got a patent on it. The adapters look like this. They're almost a little like the old ice tongs that one used to pick up blocks of ice with. That's where I got the idea.
The Curtis Rybeck dental tool was a breakthrough, and tens of thousands of units were sold over the years. We were fortunate enough in that the Rybeck family recently donated to the museum materials associated with that. They were able to find one of the original ad cards, and they still had, and were willing to share with us, one of the original dental tools and the packaging that it came in. These became standard in the industry for many, many years, and were improved upon in later years and made more modern as times went on. But this breakthrough, coming from somebody who designed toys, is just another interesting part of the amazing story of Marx Toys. Well, that's it for today's episode of Kruger Street Stories. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, press our circular logo on this page to subscribe, and click on the thumbnail to watch this next episode we know you'll also enjoy.